I've always believed that cities have their own rhythm: footsteps, car horns, chatter, and the soft hum of life behind every apartment door. When I moved into my new building in the middle of the city, I was ready for that rhythm. I was ready to start over. My name is Sarah, and I had just left everything behind: a 5-year relationship, a suffocating job, and a version of myself I no longer recognized. I needed silence, space, and time. I found a small apartment on the 3rd floor of an old building with peeling paint and an elevator that groaned like it was telling its own story. But I liked it. It felt honest. The first 2 weeks passed quietly. I unpacked, painted the walls a warm cream color, started journaling again, and even learned how to make lasagna from scratch. Every evening, I'd sit by the window with a cup of tea and listen to the sounds of the building. That's how I noticed him, the man in apartment 4B. He never made a sound. In a building filled with creaks and footsteps and muffled arguments, 4B was completely silent. At first, I thought it was empty. But sometimes, I'd pass by the door and see the light under it. Once, I caught the sound of a chair scraping against the floor. Another time, a shadow moved just as I walked up the stairs. Then the notes started. They were small, always on plain white paper, folded twice, and slid under my door while I slept. The first one simply said, "You seem sad. Tea helps." I stared at it for a long time. It was kind, but also strange. Who would send something like that? I didn't tell anyone. I was alone in the city. I had no friends here yet. And truthfully, I didn't mind the note. It felt like someone had seen me. The second note came 3 days later. "You're not as alone as you think." This time, it felt more personal. I checked the hallway cameras the next morning. Nothing. The building manager told me they hadn't worked in months. That night, I stayed up late, hoping to catch the mysterious note dropper. I fell asleep around 2 a.m. and woke up to another note. "Sleep well. You deserve rest." It had to be someone in the building. And somehow, I knew it was him, the man in 4B, so I wrote back, just one line: "Who are you?" I slid it under his door. There was no answer that night. Or the next, but on the 3rd day, I found a note on my windowsill. Not under my door, my windowsill, 3 floors up. "I'm someone who remembers." What did that mean? The days that followed were strange. I'd hear footsteps behind me in the hallway, but when I turned, no one was there. I'd find little things moved in my apartment: a book left open, a candle slightly out of place. I began to wonder if I was losing it. Then I got the 4th note. "You asked for a new beginning." But beginnings often come with buried endings. I was shaking when I read it. Because I had asked for a new beginning. I had said those words to myself when I moved here. Alone. After him, after Nathan, who I dated for 5 years. Who made me laugh until I cried. Who slowly, painfully, made me disappear into myself. He didn't hit me. He didn't scream. He just made me small, so small, I almost forgot who I was. One night, I walked out and never looked back. I blocked his number. I moved cities. I even changed my hairstyle, but I never told anyone what he did. Not really. Then I got the final note. "He's here." My hands went cold. It couldn't be. I checked the logs. I called the front desk. No one had come in. They hadn't seen anyone new. I barely slept. The next morning, I saw him. Not Nathan. Not yet. The man from 4B. He was standing at the mailboxes when I came downstairs. Tall, thin, wearing a gray coat and dark glasses. He looked older than I expected, with silver at his temples. I stared at him. He nodded once. Then walked away. I called out, "Wait." But he didn't stop. I followed him to the stairs. "Did you write the notes?" I asked. He paused. Then said, "Yes." "Why?" He didn't answer for a moment. Then he turned to me slowly. "Because you're in danger." My heart jumped. "From who?" He looked up toward the ceiling. apartment 5A. I blinked. There's no apartment 5A. The 5th floor is empty. He shook his head. Not anymore. And then he walked away. I ran up to the 5th floor. I hadn't been up there since I moved in. The hall was dark, dusty. Every door was closed except one. 5A点, the door was slightly open. I pushed it gently. The apartment was bare. A mattress on the floor. A coffee cup. A single suitcase. And a photo, my photo, taken from behind, through a window. I ran. I didn't stop until I was back in my apartment, locking every bolt. I called the police. They found the suitcase, the photo, the fingerprints. But they never found Nathan. The next morning, 4B was empty. I knocked. I begged. No answer. The building manager swore no one had rented 4B in years. I asked about the man I saw at the mailbox. He looked confused. There's no one like that living here. But I saw him. Maybe you saw a guest. No. He lived here. The manager looked at me kindly. Sweetheart, 4B's been empty since the fire. 3 years ago. The man who lived there, he died. My breath caught. A fire? Yeah. Sad story. He lived alone. Quiet guy. Nobody really noticed until it was too late. I stood there, stunned. I never got another note, but I still keep the last one taped to my window. He's here. Because even now, every time I hear a creak in the hallway, I wonder if Nathan ever really left, and I wonder who else might be watching.